Welcome students again to our third chapter of 7th class history. So we have stopped here in our previous class. Okay, now I'll start with our new topic, that is from garrison town to empire, the expansion of the Delhi Sultanate. So let's read the text first. In the early 13th century, the control of the Delhi Sultans rarely went beyond heavily fortified towns occupied by garrisons. The sultans seldom controlled the hinterland of the cities and were therefore dependent upon trade, tribute, or plunder of supplies. So what happened in the early 13th century? The control of Delhi Sultan went beyond heavily fortified towns occupied by garrison. Controlling garrisons town in distant Bengal and Sindh from Delhi was extremely difficult. Rebellion, war, even bad weather could snap fragile communication routes. Delhi's authorities was also challenged by Mongol invasions from Afghanistan and by governors who rebelled at any sign of the Sultan's weakness. Barely survived these challenges. Its consolidation occurred during the reign of Ghiyasuddin Balwan and further expansion under Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. The first step of campaign along the internal frontier of the Sultan aimed at consolidating the hinterlands of the garrison towns. During this campaign, forests were cleared in the Ganga-Yamuna Doab and hunter-gatherers and pastoralists expelled from their habitats. So what happened? Delhi authority was challenged by Mongols and by governors who rebelled at any sign of the Sultan's weakness. So they were challenged by the Mongols and by the governors who were, they just want to get that authority. The expansion of Delhi Sultanate took place under the reign of Balwan, Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq. This was how the expansion of Delhi Sultan took place. These lands were given to peasants and agriculture was encouraged. New fortresses, garrison towns and towns were established to protect trade route and to promote regional trade. The second expansion occurred along the external frontier. So first expansion was taken place in the first campaign along the internal frontier of Sultana aimed at consolidating the hinterland. So let us know the meaning of hinterland. What is the meaning of hinterland? The land adjacent to the city or port that supply with its goods and services. So that location we call it as a hinterland. So what happened? How was the first expansion? It was in the internal frontier of Sultana, which aimed at consolidating the hinterland of the garrison towns. And during this campaign, what happened? They cleared the forest, near the Ganga Yamuna, and what happened? They encouraged peasants and agriculture for agriculture means farmers for encouraging for agriculture purposes. New fortresses and garrison towns were established to protect trade routes and to promote regional trade. And how was the second expansion occurred? It occurred along the external frontier of the military expedition into southern India started during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and culminated with Muhammad Tughlaq. In this campaign, Sultana armies captured elephants, horses and slaves and carry away precious metals. By the end of the Muhammad Tughlaq's reign, 150 years after somewhat humble beginnings, the armies of the Delhi Sultan have marched across a large part of the subcontinent. They have defeated rival armies and seized cities. The Sultan collected taxes from the peasantry and dispensed justice in its realm. But how complete and effective was its control over such a vast territory? So they are also asking the question regarding how was the control of So how was the expansion? We have read. I already explained you about that. The how was it? They took in two parts. That was the internal expansion and the external frontier expansion. Firstly, they encouraged peasants and agriculture farmers to for doing agriculture. They cleared the forest land near Ganga Yamuna, and the second inspection took place in the external frontier of the Sultan, where the military expeditions they led into southern India, starting with the reign of Alauddin Khilji, and then they culminated with Muhammad Tughlaqs. And in their campaigns, Sultan army captured elephants, horses and slaves, and also they carried the precious metals. And by the end of Muhammad Tughlaqs, the armies of Delhi Sultanate have marched across a large part of the subcontinent. You can look at the map. Okay, these were the campaigns, and the years are also mentioned. These are the pictures. Let's read and try to understand what is given. Figure 2. Kuwait Al-Islam Mosque and minaret built during the last decade of the 20th century. This was the congregational mosque of the first city built by the Delhi Sultan. So this was the first city which was built by Delhi Sultans, described in the chronicle as Delhi-e-Kuna, the old city. The mosque was enlarged by Iltutmish and Alauddin Khilji. The minars were built by two sultans, Kutubuddin Yabak and Iltutmish. So this is a description was that how this mosque was built. It is known as the old city. It was built during the 20th century by the Delhi Sultans. It was the first city which was built by the Delhi Sultan. You can look at the picture. The masjid. A mosque is called a masjid in Arabic, literally a place where a Muslim prostrates in reverence to Allah. In a congregational mosque, Muslims read their prayers together. Members of the congregation choose the most respected learned male as their leader for the rituals of prayer. He also delivered the sermon during the Friday prayer. During prayer, Muslims stand facing Makkah. In India, this is to the west. This is called the Qibla. So it is a description about the masjid, that the place where Muslim do their prayers to their God. They call it as prayer, they call it as a namaz, and for this they have a member which is very most respectful learned male as their leader. They called them as imam, and they also do a special prayer that they used to do on the Friday, that is known as khutbah. So you can look at the picture. It is a figure of Bagumpuri mosque, which was built in the reign of Muhammad Tughlaq, was the main mosque of Jahanpana, the century of the world, his new capital in Delhi. So I hope you understand the description given of this figure is. Now this picture, the Delhi Sultan built several mosques in cities all over the subcontinent. This demonstrated their claims to be protectors of Islam and Muslim. Mosque also helps to create the sense of community of believers. So these all were built by Delhi Sultans, who shared a belief system and a code of conduct. It was necessary to reframe this idea of the community because Muslim came from a variety of background. So they are giving some symbols and for creating a sense of community for believers, they have built the mosque. Now let's go through the administration and consolidation under Khilji and Tughlaqs. The consolidation of the kingdom as vast as the Delhi Sultanate needed reliable governors and administrators. Rather than appointing aristocrats and landed chieftains as governors, the early Delhi sultanas, especially Iltutmish, favored their special slaves purchased for military services called bandgan in Persian. They were carefully trained to man some of the most important political offices in the kingdom. Since they were totally dependent upon their master, the Sultan could trust and rely upon them. So, what happened? The early sultans, what did they did? Especially the Iltutmish, what did they did? To have a reliable government, they favored their special slaves purchased for military services. It is what they call them as bandgan, slaves rather than sons. The sultans were advised a slave whom one has brought up and promoted must be looked after for their need a whole lifetime. At good luck to find a worthy and experienced slave. Wise men have said that a worthy and experienced slave is better than a son. So, what was their thinking? The sultan were advised that to keep a slave rather than a son, as because experienced and worthy slave is better than a son. The Khilji and Tughlaqs continued to use bandgan and also raised people of humble birth who were often their clients to high political positions. They were appointed as generals and governors. However, this also introduced an element of political instability. So, what happened? The Khilji and Tughlaqs continued to use bandage as also raised people of humble birth who were their clients to high positions like governors and generals. Slaves and clients were loyal to their masters and patrons, but not to their heirs. So what happened? The slaves and clients were loyal to their master, but not to the next generation they are having. New sultan had their own servants. As a result, the accessions of a new monarch often saw conflict between the old and the new nobility. The patronage of these humble people by the Delhi Sultana also shocked many elites, and the author of Persian, Tawarish, criticized the Delhi Sultans for appointing the low and base born to high offices. So what happened? The Khilji and Tughlaqs appointed military commander as governor of territories of varying sizes. Like the early Sultana, the Khilji and Tughlaq monarchs appointed military commanders as governors of territories of varying sizes. These lands were called Iqta and their holders were called Iqtidar or Mukti. The duty of the Muktis was to lead military campaigns and maintain law and order in their Iqtas. In exchange of their military services, the Muktis collected the revenue for their assignment as salary. They also paid their soldiers for these revenues. Control over Muktis was most effective if their offices were not inheritable and if they were assigned Iqtas for a short period of time before being shifted. These harsh conditions of service were rigorously imposed during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq. So what happened? The Khilji and Tughlaqs appointed the military commanders as governors of territories, and these lands were the land they have given that the land they have given to them. These lands were called Iqta and their holders were called Mukti, or we can say Iqtibar. And this duty of Muktis was to lead military campaigns and maintain law and order in their Iqtas. And in return, what happened? Muktis collected the revenue of their assignment as salary, and they also paid their soldiers from this revenue. Accountants were appointed by the state to check the amount of revenue collected by the Muktis. Care was taken that the Mukti collected only the tax prescribed by the state and that he kept the required number of soldiers. So what happened? Under Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq, accountants were appointed to check the amount collected by the Muktis. As the Delhi Sultana brought the hinterland of the cities under their control, they forced the landed chieftains, the Samanta, aristocrats and rich landlords to accept their authority. Under Alauddin Khilji, the state brought the assessment and collection of land revenue under its own control. The right was the local chieftains to levy taxes were cancelled, and they were also forced to pay taxes. So what happened? As Delhi Sultanate brought the hinterland of the cities under their control, they forced the Samantas and the rich landlord to accept their authority. The Sultan administrators measured the land and kept carefully accounts. Some of the old chieftains and landlords served the Sultana as revenue collector and assessors. There was 3 types of taxes on cultivation called kharaj and amounting to about 50% of the peasants' produce, second on cattle, and third on houses. So these were the taxes which were collected during the Sultana's control. It is important to remember that large part of the subcontinent remained outside the control of the Delhi Sultan. It was difficult to control distant provinces like Bengal from Delhi, and soon after annexing southern India, the entire region became independent even in the gigantic plan that were forested areas that Sultana force could not penetrate. So what happened? As it was very difficult to control the means the outside controlling the whole part at one time, so it was difficult for the Delhi Sultans to control Bengal from Delhi, and soon what happened? The area became independent. Even the gigantic plans that were forested area that Sultana force could not penetrate. Local Shifistians established their rule in these regions. Sometimes rulers like Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq could force their control in this area, but not only for a short duration. What happened? They tried to control, but only for a short duration of time. Students, just read the boxes also. It will also provide you good information. The Mongols under Genghis Khan invaded Tangsoxina in northeast Iran in 1219, and the Delhi Sultanate faced their onslaught soon after. Mongol attack on the Delhi Sultanate increased during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and the early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's rule. This forced the two rulers to mobilize a large standing army in Delhi, which posed a huge administrative challenge. So what happened? The attack of Mongols under Genghis Khan faced Khilji and Tughlaq to mobilize a large standing army in Delhi. Let us see how the two sultanas dealt with this. So this is the description how they dealt with this. Alauddin Khilji. Delhi was attacked twice in 1299 and 1300 and 1302 and 1303. As a defensive measure, Alauddin Khilji raised a large standing army. And same in the Muhammad Tughlaq. The Sultanate was attacked in the early years of Muhammad Tughlaq's reign. The Mongols' army were defeated, and Muhammad Tughlaq was confident about the strength of his army and his resources to plan an attack on Tangsoxina. He therefore raised a large standing army. So they both attacked. Then Alauddin constructed a new garrison town named Shiri for his soldiers. And in Muhammad Tughlaq's, rather than constructing a new garrison town, the oldest of the 4 cities of Delhi was emptied for its residents, and the soldiers garrisoned there. The residents of the old city were sent to the new capital of Daulatabad in south. So you can read this. It is the description given. It is in this list of Muhammad Tughlaq's failures. We sometimes forgot that for the first time in the history of the Sultanate, a Delhi Sultanate planned a campaign to capture Mongol territory. Unlike Alauddin's defensive measure, Muhammad Tughlaq's measure were confined as a part of a military offensive against the Mongol. This is a description, just you read it for your understanding. The Sultanate in the 15th and 16th century. Look at the table 1 again. You will notice that after the Tughlaqs, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties ruled from Delhi and Agra until 1526. By then, Jaunpur, Bengal, Malwa, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and the entire South India has independent rulers who established flourishing states and prosperous capitals. This was also the period which saw the emergence of new ruling groups like the Afghans and the Rajputs. So what happened? The Sultan in the 15th and 16th centuries, the Tughlaqs, the Sayyids and Lodis dynasties ruled from Delhi to Agra until 1526. By then, Jaunpur, Bengal, Malwa, Gujarat, Rajasthan and entire South India had independent rulers who established their flourishing states and prosperous capitals. Some of the states established in these periods were small but powerful and extremely well administrated. Sher Shah Suri started his career as the manager of a small territory of his uncle in Bihar and eventually challenged and defeated the Mughal Empire Humayun. Sher Shah Suri captured Delhi and established his own dynasty. So, what happened? Then some of the state which was established in this period were small but powerful, like Sher Shah Suri, who started his career as a manager in a small territory of his uncle in Bihar, but eventually he challenged and defeated the Mughal Empire Humayun, and he has established and captured Delhi and established his own dynasty. Although the Sur dynasty ruled for only 15 years, that was the period from 1540 to 1555. It introduced an administration that borrowed elements from Alauddin Khilji and made them more efficient. Sher Shah's administration became a model followed by the great empire Akbar when he consolidated the Mughal Empire. So, the administration of Sher Shah became a model. It means it is followed by the great empire Akbar when he consolidated the Mughal Empire. The three order, the peace of God, Knights and the Crusaders. So Delhi became the capital of kingdom under the Tomras Rajputs. I hope you understand the chapter. You can read this box also. It is also provide you great information about the Delhi Sultans. Now let me revise the whole chapter once more. Delhi became the capital of kingdom under the Tomras Rajputs. Tomara Rajputs. Okay. It was only under the rule of Tomars and Chauhans that Delhi flourished as an important commercial center, and the city was inhabited by many Jaina merchants who also constructed a number of temples. Coins known as Delhiwal were minted here and had a wide circulation. Delhi Sultanates played a most vital role in the transformation of Delhi into a capital which controlled vast area of the subcontinent. What else we have read in this chapter? In inscriptions, coins and architecture provided a lot of information, but especially significant are histories, Tariq, we can say in singular, or Tawariq in plural, which is written in Persian, the language of administration under Delhi Sultana. What else? Then Tawariq were written by learned men, secretaries, administrators, poets and courtiers who lived in cities, mainly Delhi. They were written for the sultans which anticipation of rich rewards. They also advised rulers on governance, emphasizing the importance of just rule because on birthright and gender discrimination not shared by everyone. Then in this box we read about Razia, the daughter of Sultan Iltutmish, became the Sultan of Delhi in 2036, but she was removed only in 2040 only for being a woman and was unacceptable to the nobles. Even a famous chronicle of the age, Minai-i-Siraj, recognized her as more able than all her brothers, but were not comfortable with her only for being a lady. Then in the early 13th century, there were no significant expansion of Delhi beyond heavily fortified towns occupied by garrison. It was only during the reign of Ghayasuddin Balwan, Alauddin Khilji and Muhammad Tughlaq that Delhi saw expansion for the first time. The expansion was initiated with the internal frontiers. Forests were cleared in the Ganga Yamuna Doab, and hunter-gatherers and pastoralists expelled from their habitats, and these lands were given to the peasants to promote agriculture, and regional trades were also promoted. The external frontier was the next phase of expansion, which started with Alauddin Khilji in southern India and culminated with Muhammad Tughlaq. The armies of Delhi Sultana marched across a large part of the subcontinent till the reign of Muhammad Tughlaq. Then they defeated rebels and seized cities. The Sultana collected taxes from the peasants. The early Sultana favored appointment of their slave purchased for military services as governor to control the administration. What else we have read? Then these slaves were totally dependent upon their masters, and so they were more reliable and trustworthy. What were they called? They were called Bandgan in Persian. The Khilji and Tughlaqs continued the use of Bandgan and also raised people of humble birth, usually their clients, to high position and appoint them as generals and governors. But this system was criticized by the elites and authors of Tariq. Because of them, the new high class people were in fact low and base born. And what happened then? Khilji and Tughlaqs also, like they appointed military commanders as governors of territories, and these territories were called Iqta, and their holders were called Iqtibar or Mukti. Then Muktis were responsible for leading their military campaign and maintaining their Iqtibar. Accountants were also appointed by the state to check the amount of revenue collected by Muktis, who were not allowed to collect revenue more than they are prescribed by the state. Okay, then Delhi Sultan has completed control over the hinterland of the cities, and so the Samantas, aristocrats, were forced to accept their authorities. And during Alauddin Khilji regime, the state brought the assessment and collection of land revenue under its control. What were the three types of taxes? On cultivation, then on cattle and on houses. These were the three types of taxes. Then as a large part of subcontinent, outside the control of Delhi Sultanate, it was difficult to control the provinces like Bengal from Delhi. So soon what happened? They became independent, and the local Shiftians, they established their rule in these regions, but only for a short period of time. The Mongols, led by Genghis Khan, invaded in northeast Iran in 2019, and such attack frequented during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and in the early day of Muhammad Tughlaq's rule. And this forced the two rulers to mobilize a large standing army in Delhi. So this was the whole chapter about the Delhi Sultana. You just also read the text for your better understanding, and you can ask me for any of your doubts. I will do the exercise part.